Millions of dollars are heading to southeastern North Carolina, all meant to improve drinking water now and down the road.
That's the promise that Governor Josh Stein made today here in Wilmington, backed by nearly $35 million in funding. WECT's Mackenzie Bruns went to that announcement today. Now, Mackenzie, this money is going to some improvements in the area, right?
That's right, John. It comes down to two things: filtering forever chemicals from people's drinking water and making sure this region can handle the growth for years to come. Wilmington's Sweeney water treatment plant has been the forefront of filtering forever chemicals, but help is on the way to get other plants up to speed. Governor Josh Stein, joined by Environmental Quality Secretary Reed Wilson, announcing news.
The state has recently awarded the CFPUA nearly $35 million in water infrastructure investments.
The money is split into two major investments. First, $17 million from the EPA's Emerging Contaminants Program, targeting PFAS or forever chemicals. That money will help connect more than 230 homes currently relying on wells directly to CFPUA's clean water lines.
I don't want any single person to have to be subject to unclean drinking water through a well. Now, that's going to be a long process, but it requires investments like the ones that we talked about today.
The other $17.8 million goes towards transforming the Southside Water Reclamation Facility. The investment will help rebuild and modernize the facility for an ever-growing community. While various government grants will pay for these improvements, Governor Stein says taxpayers shouldn't cover the costs when someone pollutes their drinking water.
I believe firmly that when a polluter creates damage that impacts the public and the natural, the rivers, that they should be the ones to pay for it.
While legal fights continue for companies like DuPont to foot the bill, construction here at the Southside facility is already underway, as officials hope this mound of dirt will lead to clean water for years to come. Site work has already kicked off, and it started last fall, and the project is expected to wrap up by 2030. The total cost is estimated at around $400 million. Mackenzie Bruns, WECT News.
The governor also visited a temporary DMV office in Belleville. That location, one of 4 new ones that'll open by the end of the year. The governor says there are no firm plans to open any other DMV offices, but said it does remain a possibility.